On today's Apple Daily, the Mac Mini M1X is real and it looks great. iOS 15 could include food tracking, and how Apple Silicon Mac Pros will most likely be built. This video is supported by NordPass, letting you store all of your passwords in one place, organise your logins and private notes in a secure password vault, and access it all with a single master password. And with NordPass's data breach scanner, you can find out if your online account or credit card information has been leaked. Right now, NordPass has their Spring Forward sale too until June the 1st, 2021, so my audience can get 70% off NordPass at nordpass.com/icave or use the code icave. Plus, you'll get an additional month of NordPass for free. Thank you to NordPass for sponsoring this video. I'm iCave Dave and I simplify Apple so that everything just works for you, and if you want the latest Apple news, leaks and rumours every weekday at 12 UTC, like this video, subscribe to the channel and ring that bell. And let's get straight into it. Jon Prosser has released renders of Apple's upcoming Mac Mini, and as expected, it can certainly be smaller, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. The design, as suggested by Luke Miani, seems to have a similar footprint, but about half the height of the current version, and the iPhone 12 design language comes through here again, with very flat sides leading up to a top panel that is inset with aluminium surrounding it. Apparently that top panel will be some form of polycarbonate, which also feels like a bit of a retro callback to the first ever Mac Mini, which had a smaller footprint and was a little taller than the current generation. Now this is most likely to be the one for the M1X models initially, so other than having the extra thermal headroom, this also has more I/O than the M1 Model 2. 4 USB-C ports, although it's not clear if these are Thunderbolt or basic USB or a combination. Also, 2 USB-A ports, HDMI, Ethernet, and headphone jack. The Mac Mini also appears to have the same magnetic power supply port as the 24-inch 2021 iMac, suggesting that the Mac Mini's power supply will be external too, just like with the iMacs. This does make a lot of sense though in terms of thermal management, especially when you've got those more powerful chips inside. Next up, several reports are suggesting that iOS 15 could include food tracking as a part of the health features on the iPhone. Now, there are multiple apps that already do this and integrate with health, but there are a couple of reasons that this makes sense to me. Firstly, those emoji I mentioned yesterday in the WWDC teaser, eat, sleep, code. But maybe the eat section is actually referring to this new feature, as well as kind of eat, sleep, code as a t-shirt design. Now this also ties in well with the possibility that we've heard of Apple Watch getting blood glucose monitoring too, though I'm pretty sure it won't be medically rated for the treatment of conditions like diabetes, although there's still very useful things that it can do. With sensors like the Libra 2 that my son uses, a small filament is inserted into the arm that measures your blood glucose and then transmits it to your phone or something else. However, the same system is also offered in a non-medical form for athletes wanting to monitor their glucose to optimise their workouts and meal times. I would say that if Apple Watch is going to have a non-invasive monitoring of blood glucose, it will probably not be accurate enough for administering insulin, but it would certainly give a great guide as to how the food that you're eating is affecting your blood sugar, the GI and all that kind of thing. And it could be a great early warning system for someone who may have undiagnosed diabetes, giving them a warning to go and get checked out before they get admitted in an emergency situation with a deep ketoacidosis, which can be very dangerous. And next, Apple Silicon. Mac Pros. I have talked in the past about how Apple, in my opinion, would be most likely to use multiple SOCs to pair up and get to the level of performance required, and the latest leaks actually suggest that I might be right. I don't know why I didn't notice this earlier, but if you look at the core counts, you may be able to see what I mean. M1, as we know, consists of 4 Ice Storm efficiency cores, 4 Firestorm performance cores, and an 8-core GPU. Now, according to the latest rumours, M1X will feature 2 efficiency cores and 8 performance cores, with 16 or 32 core GPU, based on your needs, or possibly which size MacBook you buy. But the rumours from Mark Gurman suggest that the Mac Pro will have 20 or 40 cores, with the first of those having 16 Firestorm and 4 Ice Storm cores, and the second 32 Firestorm and 8 Ice Storm cores. Those numbers tie up perfectly with having either 2 or 4 M1X processors running side by side. That would also suggest that each would potentially have its own pool of unified memory, and knowing that the M1X is likely to support up to 64 gigs of memory, the 40 core could therefore be likely to top out at 256 gigs configuration. Of course, it's not as easy as just plonking 4 SOCs down into your system. There will be challenges for Apple in making sure that these SOCs can work well in sync, but also at the same time, Apple has done this before with dual processors in G5s. The advantage being that the smaller SOCs are likely to have higher yields than single huge dies. But what do you think? Could we see 2 to 4 M1Xs inside a Mac Pro? Let me know down below. And we're going to get into some iCave answers. So first up, Lego Vlogger asks, iCave answers, should I buy an M1 MacBook Air now or wait for WWDC? I know there aren't any leaks like this, but do you think by any chance we could get a new MacBook Air or another MacBook in the same price range with M2 or an improved M1 chip? So even though you are wanting to buy a MacBook Air right now, I would probably hold fire just until I would probably still hold fire until WWDC just to see what is coming out and see what the pricing is like. But I'm almost certain that we won't be seeing a MacBook Air. I don't think there will be any improved M1 chips other than the M1X, and the M2 would be due to come out at the end of the year around October-November time, just after the iPhones have all been released. That would make all the sense in the world and match up with what we had this year. But as I say, it's only 2 weeks away, so why not hold on? And worst case scenario, you might actually be able to pick up a MacBook Pro 13-inch if somebody is trying to offload theirs so that they can get the new MacBook Pros with M1X. You might be able to get a slightly better system for a bit less money. Because as soon as this event happens, I would almost guarantee there's going to be a bunch of M1 MacBook Pros hitting the secondary market because people want to go for that more powerful one if they're a pro user. AlightDrip7 asks, iCave answers, what do you think of the design of the new MacBook Pro 14 posted by Luke Miani, and is it possible for a new MacBook Pro to have 25 hours of battery life if it has only 2 efficiency cores and more power cores compared to the M1 MacBooks, assuming the form factor is similar? Okay, so I would say that the 14-inch and 16-inch are probably going to have larger batteries in than the current M1 MacBooks that we have right now. I would still say probably that 25 hours is quite ambitious as a number, but it's not out of the realms of possibility, having seen what's been going on so far. Now, there is a possibility that they will use a slightly improved node. Now, in terms of the efficiency, because of the reduced number of efficiency cores, I actually think that is possibly what's going to offer more battery life, more than less, because you only fire up those Firestorm cores when you need the heavy-duty processing power, whereas it might be that the M1 has been accessing all 4 of those chips at a lower usage rate in general, and Apple has recognised this and decided, well, we only actually need 2 of the efficiency cores. They are able to handle everything that people are doing with these systems until they need to get into the Firestorm cores, and so Apple has decided to save some of that space on the die for more of the Firestorm cores, basically reduce the chances of failures in the chips themselves, because the bigger the die is, the more likelihood you are of having errors within it that could be critical. So hopefully that makes sense. I think what Luke was saying about the design and everything else is bang on, basically. But no, I don't think that it's going to reduce the battery life at all, having the reduced number of efficiency cores. As long as it's still got some, we're fine. RiggsSec, iCave answers, with the push to complete the Mac line Apple Silicon transition, do you think Apple may skip the iPad and iPad Air updates in 2021? Okay, I don't think this is too much of a problem at all, because Apple is going to be making the A15 chips anyway, and I would guess that the base iPad is probably going to go to an A13, so there's nothing massive that they need to do other than have a board that they plonk the new processor into. Hopefully there won't be too much that needs to be changed. I believe that the A14 and A15 will both be running on 5nm process, so that shouldn't make too much difference. So there might not even be much redesign to be done at all. So fingers crossed that we'll still get those updates. We should also be looking at still getting an iPad mini refresh this year too. Marcin Kowalczyk, iCave Answers, got an email from Apple today highlighting WWDC keynote date and time. Considering it's been announced way in advance, it seems Apple wants to shine a spotlight on the WWDC keynote especially. I have a feeling there's a reason behind it, and it's not software. Your thoughts? Yep, I mean, the hardware coming is all but confirmed at this point. I don't think getting the email through makes that much difference. I think it does actually happen every year. I could be wrong about that, so let me know in the comments if I am. But yeah, pretty sure as well that every year they tell you about the keynote, because the keynote is the bit that kind of everyone watches, and then it goes off into the heavy duty coding focused stuff for the developers that WWDC is ready for anyway. It's just that it's nice because we get a bit of product announcement stuff at the beginning as well, and do you think I'm going to be running some betas quite soon afterwards? I think I am. And Tech Hyped asks, iCave Answers, please make a video on the M1 Mac buying guide, as Apple is including M1 on more products. It's getting more complicated for me, as it will be my first time to experience a Mac. Okay, right now I don't need to do a whole video on this because it is very, very simple. Don't buy anything this week. Don't buy anything until WWDC has happened, because we don't know what the pricing is going to be. We've got a good idea because pretty much so far most of the stuff has been in line with what it's replaced, and so we can fairly accurately probably predict that the Mac Mini with M1X is going to be either $9.99 or $10.99, because the previous one replaced a $7.99 model with a $6.99 model. So I think they're probably going to stick at $10.99 because that's still going to be an absolute bargain. I think that the new MacBook Pros are going to be $17.99 and $23.99 for the 14 and the 16 inch. And when the new iMac finally arrives, it's probably going to start at about $1,800. That would be my best guesses on that. For the next couple of weeks, do not buy anything because it's worth waiting to see what does come out. That being said, if you do need to buy something straight away, I would say if you need a desktop, it's a tricky one because I would tend to go towards the Mac Mini, which is what I use. However, the iMac, if you want something that you can get started with straight away, that's got a fantastic display, which is probably, if you were to buy it standalone, it's going to be $500 to $600 plus, and all the same power as you've got in the Mac Mini, plus you get the nice peripherals and the Touch ID and things like that. You're probably not going to go wrong with that. If you want something where you could have a combination of Mac that you can use on the go and Mac that you can use at a desk, grab yourself a MacBook Air and get yourself a display that you can hook it up to when you're at the desk. That is the best of both worlds, I think. And the difference in performance between the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro for the vast majority of people in the real world is going to make zero difference. Quick version of the buying guide. Probably don't buy anything right now. Definitely don't buy anything with Intel in it ever again. Even used, it probably doesn't make sense compared to the M1s. And if you must buy something right now, go for either a MacBook Air with an external display or probably iMac over Mac Mini, just because you get that beautiful display, you got your camera, you've got everything else that you need. It's basically an all-in-one package. It's as if they should call it all-in-one, huh? But yeah, the iMac or MacBook Air, I think, are the best two buys right now. So that's it for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Questions, hashtag #iCaveAnswers down in the comments section. And don't forget to hit subscribe and like this video before you leave, because it means a lot to me. Thank you so much. See you next time.